Okay, so just a quick couple solutions to some trig equation questions. This is from exercise 9.6 of the Edexcel Additional Maths IGCSE textbook. So this is exercise 9.6, question 4A. Okay, so I'm just going to go through a couple of them. Please interact as much as possible with the video and try and do it at the same time that I'm doing it. Okay, so for these types of questions, we can absolutely just sketch out this function. Okay, we could sketch out the cos graph and then we could shift it 30 degrees to the right. But you know, sometimes it's a bit long to do that. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you how to make substitutions. Okay, so anything inside the brackets, we're going to make a little substitution here. Okay, so we're going to say let x minus 30 equal to u. Okay, and now we're just solving a much more simple equation. We're just solving cos u equals minus 0.5. Okay, but whenever we make a substitution, we always need to be careful about how it affects our domain. Okay, so what we then do is we rearrange for x. Okay, so we can see that x is equal to x is equal to u plus 30, and then I'm just going to sub that in. I'm going to sub that in here. Okay, so I know that we are now looking at u plus 30 less than or equal to 360 degrees and greater than or equal to 0 degrees. Okay, and I can just subtract 30 from all sides of this inequality. So our new domain in terms of u is what we have here. U is between minus 30 and 330 degrees. Okay, so now we have a much easier question to do. We're just solving cos u equals minus 0.5 in these limits here. And what we're going to do at the end is we're just going to then resubstitute it back in to find our answers in terms of x. Okay, so now we can just use your class diagram, which you should use for every single question. It's very good. 0, 90 degrees, 180 degrees, and 270 degrees. Okay, and this again backs up again. You can use it again as 360. Okay, so now we are looking for a negative value. Here we want to see when cos is negative, and we can see cos is negative in these two quadrants here. Okay, so these are our two angles. So if we inverse cos both sides of this equation, we see that u is equal to 120 degrees. Okay, so this angle here is 120 degrees, and because of the symmetry of the cos graph, we know that this angle here is also 120. Okay, but when we're finding our answers, we're always going to be measuring anti-clockwise from the x-axis. Okay, so this is our first solution here, which we know is 120, and this is our second solution here, measuring from 0, and we're going to get our second solution there. So it's this angle in red. Okay, we know this angle is 120, so this red angle here is just 360 minus 120. Okay, so the second answer here is 360 minus 120, which is 240. Okay, so we're not done yet. Now we need to resubstitute these back in to our relationship between x and u to find out what x is, because the question is given in terms of x, so we need to give the answers in terms of x as well. So we know that x is equal to u plus 30, so x is 120 plus 30, which is 150 degrees, and x is also 240 plus 30, which is 270 degrees. So these are our answers for the first question here. Okay, so we're going to try another one now. Just a little bit more tricky, but the same idea. Okay, so we're going to make a substitution here, and we're going to let u equal to 2x plus 45. Okay, have a pause of the video now if you feel confident, and have a go, and then check back in once you're done and see if you can get the answer by yourself. It's exactly the same method we've done in the last question. So yeah, have a pause of the video now. Okay, so if you pause the video, welcome back, and let's finish it off. Okay, so we made our substitution now. So now we're just solving this 6 sine u equals minus 5, but now we have our trig function in terms of u, so we also want to see the domain in terms of u as well. So what we're going to do is we're going to rearrange for x and we're going to sub it in here. Okay, so I can minus 45 from both sides. I see that u minus 45 is equal to 2x, and I can divide both sides by 2. So I see that x is u minus 45 over 2. Okay, subbing that in here, we can see that u minus 45 over 2 needs to be less than or equal to 180 and greater than 0 degrees. Timesing both sides by 2, we see that u minus 45 needs to be greater than 0 and less than 360. And now just adding 45 on both sides. So 45 greater than or equal to u, which is less than or equal to 360 plus 45, which is 405. My terrible mental math skills on display there. Okay, so so now we have our new domain, and we have our new equation dividing both sides by 6. We see sine u is equal to minus 5 over 6. So now it becomes much easier, right? Now we're just solving this equation, and we want to find the solutions in this domain. Okay, so again, labeling the cast diagram 0, 90, 180, 270, ASTC. We have a negative value here, okay, and the cast diagram shows us the positive. Okay, so A stands for all. This is where all of the functions take positive values. Only sine is positive from 90 to 180. Only tan is positive in this quadrant, and only cos is positive here. Okay, so we want to see where sine is negative, and sine is going to be negative in these two quadrants here. So here is our two solutions. So now we're just going to solve this. So taking the inverse sine of both sides, we see that the value we get is minus 56.44. Okay, minus 56.44. Okay, so anti-clockwise is positive and clockwise is negative. So this is our first angle here, and this has a value of 56.44. Okay, and we know due to the symmetry of the sine graph, the sine function, this angle here is also 56.44. You can sketch out and you can see that as well. So now we are going to find our solutions, because clearly negative angles are not allowed. So let's see what our solutions are. So we're going to be measuring, we're going to be taking angles anti-clockwise from 0. So here is our first solution until we hit this one here, and here is our second solution here. That's our second solution. Okay, so our first solution is 180 plus that little extra bit of 56.44. So u is equal to 236.44, and our second solution is this angle here, so 360 minus 56.44. Okay, and that is 303.56. Okay, and now all we need to do is sub them back in to find our solutions in terms of x. Okay, so we know that x is equal to u minus 45 over 2. So our solutions are 236.44 minus 45 over 2, which is 95.7. And our second solution is 303.56, subtract 45 over 2. And that second one turns out to be 129.3. And then we're done. Two solutions in that range here, in that domain. So what you can do as well is you can sketch it out, just get a rough idea of how many solutions you're going to be obtaining. So your knowledge of the trig graphs is really, really important, because you can sketch it out and you can just estimate the number of solutions you're expected to obtain. So let's have a go at the last one here. And okay, so the last one here is in radians. We have angles in terms of pi, so that's usually a good indication of the questions in radians. And as well, the domain will always tell you. Okay, so the 2 pi clearly in radians. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to work in radians again, and it's going to work in exactly the same way. Okay, we're just going to make a substitution, and it's probably good to write let u equals x plus pi over 6, and now we are solving this cos u equals minus 0.5, and again just need to change this x equals u minus pi over 6, and we want to see our how this changes our domain. Okay, so u minus pi over 6 is smaller than 2 pi and greater than 0. Adding pi over 6 on both sides, we see that this is our new domain. Okay, and it's from pi over 6 to 13 pi over 6. Okay, so we're going to be checking for solutions between these two angles here. You can convert them if you want to get an idea in degrees, but I really recommend to keep your answers and keep all the working out in radians especially as well. Okay, so now inverse cos both sides, we see that u is equal to 2 pi over 3. Fill out our cast diagram now. Now it's going to be 0 pi over 2 pi 3 pi over 2, and then back to 2 pi here, and again exactly the same ASTC. And we want to see where cos is negative. Okay, cos is negative in these two quadrants here. So this solution here is 2 pi over 3, and because we know the symmetry of the cos graph, this solution is also 2 pi over 3 as well. Okay, so our first answer, measuring anti-clockwise from the x-axis, is our first angle, so 2 pi over 3. Our second one is going to be pi minus 2 pi over 3, okay? And that is 4 pi over 3. The second one should be 2 pi minus 2 pi over 3. That's our second angle. I think I said pi over 3. I think I said pi minus 2 pi over 3. So our first one is 2 pi over 3, measuring anti-clockwise from the x-axis, and our second one is 4 pi over 3. It's this angle here. Okay, 2 pi subtract pi over 3. Okay, and we're putting it in these quadrants here because that's where cos is negative. Now all we need to do is put them back into our formula and find our x values. So we know x is equal to u minus pi over 6. So our first answer is 2 pi over 3 minus pi over 6, which is pi over 2 radians. And our second answer is 4 pi over 3 minus pi over 6, which turns out to be 7 pi over 6 radians. So again, our two solutions here, all done in radians. So thank you very much for watching, and you can have a go at the rest of the exercises from this question. And again, this is exercise 9.6, question 4, and you've got the questions and the answers here, so have a go in your own time. And thank you very much for watching.